It's been a pleasure reading all your comments on the signature wall. So it's a request that please do continue to do so. We're also looking forward to reading all those tweets on our Twitter wall in the lobby. I'm sure all our partners are getting to connect with you at the partner booths as we look forward to our session on digital acceleration, a new connected world. A very warm welcome to Ms. Rachna Ahlawat, Senior Vice President, Digital, Fiserv, in conversation with Mr. Anirban Ghoshal, Senior Editor, ET Edge.
Thank you, Aisha, for the wonderful introduction. Often, the former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, has said that there is no limit to what women can accomplish, and my co-panelist today embodies this adage. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome an agent of change who has been right at the center of cutting-edge development in the financial technology domain and payment sector. A formidable leader who has been committed to the design, implementation, and success of complex yet consumer-friendly solutions. Welcome, Rachna.
Thank you, Anirban. It's a pleasure to be here.
Moving on, Rachna, just diving straight into the conversation, I have some very interesting questions for you. With the global economic growth stunted to a certain extent, the digital payment sector, or rather the fintech space, is expected to play an invaluable role in rebooting economies in the new normal due to its potential for innovation. How do you envision the next phase of technology disruption will happen in this space?
For a moment, let's revisit what happened maybe like 10 years ago. So if you remember in 2008, because of the subprime mortgage in the US and Western Europe, it sort of had an effect throughout the world in the international banking market too. And actually, in some ways, fintech boom started then. But the focus for the last 10, 12 years has been on the data access. Are we able to provide the data or the digital and enabling consumers to be able to access their data about their financial life on a mobile or a digital world? I think one of the biggest things that are going to happen, of course, accelerated because of pandemic, because now digital has to be thought through as if there is no other channel. There were days when branches were closed or the other channels were not available. And the only way consumers could access their financial data was through digital. So pandemic has just completely changed and put digital first. But one of the big differences I see already happening now, and probably will just accelerate during pandemic and post-pandemic, is it's not just about data anymore. People want insights. People want recommendation on how they can manage their financial lives better. So I think one of the biggest areas of growth coming out of pandemic would be insights and recommendation. And the other thing I see, Anirban, happening a lot is, what do you do with that insight? When you give recommendation to a customer, there are different types of customers. There are consumers who are, Generation Z versus also like my parents' age, late 80s or, late 70s or early 80s. There is a multi-generational aspect to it. But there are also types of customers. There are small, medium enterprises. Financial role and the technology and digital product role almost has to be the second type of vaccine. It has to be a shot in the arm, because that is what's going to bring back the society to its new normal, or back to the normal that we were all used to just about a year ago.
I couldn't agree with you more, Rachna. I think, as you said, that, that the financial or, sector, underpinned by technologies and digital is obviously going to be the, will play a very crucial role in sort of taking us back to where we were pre-pandemic. And, rightly said. So again, in your answer, you said that, the pandemic has changed a lot of things for us, right? And one of the things that has changed is it has accelerated the change in consumer behavior and expectations. As you said, there's a multi-generational, different kind of customers that exist in the market today. And there is this constant demand for hyper-personalized and immediate service, along with a sense of gratification. Right there, right now service, right? How do you expect this phenomena to impact the sector? And, obviously play out and pan in the long run?
Actually, many claim in the industry that there is already some level of personalization that is going on. And it's true. But I think personalization at a category level or personalization at an individual level, these are two separate things. Even though my sister and I are the same age, and we have very different financial needs, and we are at a different, you know, at a different place in our journeys. So recognizing each person, not just by gender, but by age, but also being able to study their financial life, their life outside of financials, to come back with that recommendation is very, very important. Let me actually give you an example of my father, since I just touched upon that. And I'm picking up a generation where I think we need to bring them along in this journey. The products cannot be meant for just one generation or one type of customer or personalization in a certain sector. And my father retired something like 20 years ago. He lives in a mid-sized town in India, and he has 5 banking relations. One where his pension goes in, another one, that account he's had for over 25 years where he has credit and debit cards. Then, there are 3 other banks that open up the branches very close to his house. So, there were offers or whatever. Now he ended up having with 5 banking relations. First of all, that's way too much. It should be consolidated. But when I really look at it, none of them actually have really understood him as an individual. And the onus is on him to figure out where he wants the fixed deposit, where he wants his pension to go, which cards he wants to use. And it's too much as an individual. Any one of these banks that truly understands him as an individual, how much money is coming and how much he's spending, helps him manage his financial lives, also anticipate his future needs, short term and long term, actually is the winner. But unfortunately, most banks in the world, whether it's India, the US, rest of the world, have always looked at segments of the customers. And now with the use of maybe AI, assisted AI, and there's so much personalization work that's going on both in the product and technology vector sector, I think this is going to be the area of focus, because each customer is unique. Each customer is at a certain path in their journey. And we all have to stitch that together so that we can serve and convert this into a customer-centric approach rather than a product-centric approach.
But moving on, Rachna, although the fintech sector is known for being one of the fastest adopters of technology, some sections of it do indeed lag behind. Is there a possibility that this new demand for innovation will accelerate digital transformation journeys for the financial sector as a whole? And if you agree with that, then what are some of the trends that one might look out for to identify that such digital transformation journeys are happening?
I think one of the easiest or simplest thing that a lot of people can relate to, and we won't have time to go into every segment, so I'm generalizing it, is actually just the real-time access, not to data, but real-time access to be able to move money. Somebody who's running a small, medium business enterprise and has to run the business doesn't have the time to go and nurture the banking relation and figure it out. So the banks that understand what is the need of that enterprise to allow that owner to move the money quickly and also get those loans extended rather than filling out, application process that takes longer. Coming back to that point, when financials give a shot in the arm to the entire society, these are the ones that are going to win. And we'll see a lot of real-time money movement products coming in. Of course, it cannot compromise the security. Technology exists. I think we have to piece together the products by marrying it with customer needs and doing it in a secure and a fast manner.
I would like to switch gears here, and there is no denying the fact that there's a lot of stigma surrounding women at the workplace. It might not be just wrong to think that a majority of the women subconsciously think or are made to think that it is hard to be a woman. You must think like a man, act like a lady, look like a young girl, and also work like a horse. And being someone who's worked in multiple countries across locations and also started her own company that was later acquired, how can women of today fight back? And what can organizations do to create a wholesome, healthier working ecosystem?
As I was growing up in my childhood, I was very fortunate that I got to live in different parts of the world. And in my career also, I worked in different cultures, some countries very conservative, some very liberal. So I was exposed to quite a few things that you just mentioned. And it is true to a very big extent. But there is one thing in common, which always wins, which is your content. No matter what your age is, no matter what your gender is, and no matter where you are in terms of your career path within that organization, content almost always wins. And authenticity. These two as combinations, I've always seen, and I cannot generalize, but based on my personal experience, I think these are the two things, because I've had many, many failures too. It's not always a success. And that content is one piece that you have to go back and revisit. And the way you present, what you present, ideas you present, what you build, how fast you move, all of this contributes. Now, of course, I do understand, and not every society in every part of the world is conducive to having two members of the household have a successful career or where they move. But that's a personal decision one takes to let one versus the other move on in different paths. So we have to recognize that it does exist. And as women, we have to build the infrastructure for other women to be able to come and join us in that journey and move along as a movement, so that we all benefit from it. Because having women at workplace contributing, there is a very different level of differences of opinion that come in, which allow us to build better products, use better technology, and actually ultimately serve the market with the actual needs that are needed. No one gender, society, or culture can be left behind. But we have to almost embrace the movement to bring them along, bring everybody along with the diverse, backgrounds, and with inclusion, not just for the sake of it, but including people so that everybody understands their contribution, everybody understands what's going on, and can bring their whole self to the workplace. Yeah.
Just in the interest of time, because we're coming to an end, before I let you go, many people believe that there is this need for women leaders to be at the top, right? So that women can be heard, women's voices can be heard. You are somebody who's reached that position. How are you sort of helping in curbing or eliminating these very evils that often are often present in the workplace? And before you sort of go, would you sort of like to leave a concluding note for all the aspiring women leaders and generally women at work in India and around the world?
I mean, if you look at the percentage of women, even 10, 20, 30 years ago when I started working to now, I think it has changed. And women are already coming up to forefront and leading, organizations of different size. Yes, there is still a difference. So one thing I would say is that, and again, going back to my personal experience, I've learned a lot from failures. I've failed many, many times. But as an individual, I've always tried to study my behavior to figure out why I failed in a certain circumstances that'll allow me to be better. And then I've reached out to other people within the organization to build that ecosystem. And I truly embrace that. There are women, actually, when it comes to digital, when it comes to banking, when it comes to what we are building for consumers, in some ways, women are inherently better. The empathy level and a lot of other things that they bring in, the design thinking they bring in. And also when we're serving the customer, that has a mix of all kinds of people and gender and age groups. So bringing women along, I think is absolutely important. And hopefully I'm able to reflect this in this company and the previous ones, but all of us have to recognize that and bring that movement forward.
I think the message that Rachna has given us today is that there has to be grit, there has to be determination, and one should not get bogged down by failures, because ultimately, as we all know from a proverbial saying, that failures are actually the pillars of success. Thank you so much, Rachna, for a wonderful, engaging conversation. Stay safe, stay healthy. This is Anirban signing off.
Thank you very much.